Hi, this is Matthew. I'm going to talk again about the next Beach Boys album in 1969 called 2020, or as the screen readers call it, 20/20. Apparently all the albums up to that point from Capitol had equal to 20, which I think is about right, because this is like 15 and you've had 3 greatest hits, so that puts it at 18, and you've had that live album with 19, but it's close to 20 at least. Maybe I feel like I'm missing one, but that's pretty close to 20, so I think that's pretty darn close to being right. Either way, Brian Wilson really had no involvement. They used some of his tracks from other things he didn't want to do, and he actually checked himself into a mental hospital, so a facility there back in 69, somewhere in there, and really won't see much of him now. He's not even in the album cover. He's hiding behind an eye chart if you have I guess it had a gate fold out thing. He was apparently in there behind an eye chart. So he's really not involved. Really everything now goes to Carl Wilson to produce and kind of really lead the group along now. So that's why Wilson really will not be involved for quite a while, I don't think. Unfortunately, he had his own things to deal with, which I don't know much about that. Unfortunately, I have not really read his 2 autobiographies or anything about what he has gone through. I know it was a real struggle, for sure. There was a late 90s, I think AMC had some Beach Boys stuff on one summer. Some movies and concerts and things about the band, and they never did talk about Brian Wilson. That's a long time ago since I was able to watch those. Back when AMC was not what it was now, and it was only American Movie Classics. It showed a lot of movie things and musicals and other things like that related to movies, which they don't do anymore. Been a long time since they have. So, yeah, it was a cool stuff that summer. I forget when, but I think I was in high school when that was, in the late 90s. Yeah, but now I don't think it mentioned the studios or anything, but I know they did go. It sounds like they are in a studio now. And we do it again on here, which we did not have, which we now have. And then I Can Hear Music, it was the other single, which was, I think, a Ronettes cover. I've not heard the original. We'll get into that, but we also have a live album to talk about, which we don't get until 76, which they get in 70 in the UK. We'll get to that in a little bit here. We'll see who all the people are on this one, and tracks and stuff. Interestingly, there's a slight involvement with Charles Manson, unfortunately, that guy. Yeah, that Charles Manson. For some reason, he fancied himself a musician and convinced them to record stuff, which none of it has ever seen the light of day. But it was like 100 hours worth of recording or something like that. None of it has ever surfaced. I don't know if it's any good. They do use a song here from him. I guess he wanted them to record, but they use some of his, change the title and do some other reworking of it, but it's essentially a Manson song, which is wild. Honestly, they do also know Three Dog Night also at this point. Some of them were talked about Brian Wilson's decline and things in the Wikipedia article a little bit, one quote or two from Danny Hutton, I think, from Three Dog Night. So yeah, they do use a song here that the Three Dog Night does record as a single. It doesn't really go anywhere, I don't think, but some early Three Dog Night involvement from the guys. Some kind of an acquaintance with them, so it seems, which is kind of cool. I like them too. So I've seen them. Let me see, 3 times, or wait, I think 3. I've seen them, I think. Remember, yeah, 3. I was in the Beach Boys once in '97. Yeah, we'll see what tracks we have and check out the personnel, and I find that interesting, at least. Okay, there it is. All right. We have the original album. The original vinyl had on side 1. Of course, Do It Again, produced by Brian and Carl Wilson. Brian Wilson and Mike Love on vocals from the last. Oh, Brian Wilson, Mike Love, and Mike Love and Brian Wilson on vocals. I Can Hear Music. That was a Carl Wilson produced thing. Jeff Berry and Ellie Grinch and Phil Spector. Yeah, definitely the Ronettes. I'll have to go find that album or that track after this. I wouldn't mind hearing the Ronettes do that. That'd be fun. Carl Wilson on lead vocals. I really like this song. I really do. Get that 3-disc Beach Boys album I keep talking about. That was the last track on the 3rd disc. And I've never heard it before until I got that as a birthday present in high school. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I've never heard before. Because you get the good vibrations and they just stop playing them on the radio, and so you really don't get to hear any. I mean, then you go to like Kokomo and you miss a whole bunch of stuff. And I'd heard rock and roll music, which I'm not sure where that comes into play yet. Not there yet. I'm close, I think. My mom has it on vinyl on something. I don't recall what album it is. But yeah, that was here. And then we go to some other stuff. Bluebirds Over the Mountain, which had come out earlier as well. Was definitely a single. I know it was definitely a single in the UK. I don't know. It's a good track, though. I think it was a cover of some sort. Ursula Hickey wrote it. It was some kind of cover. Mike Love and Brian Wilson and Bruce Johnston. Yep, he does some vocals here. And then we go to Be With Me. That is a Brian Wilson produced one. A little bit, and Dennis on vocals. Oh, Dennis wrote it. I'm sorry, Dennis Wilson wrote it. And it's Dennis Wilson on vocals. All I Want to Do. This Wilson and Stephen Kalahitch wrote it. Mike Love did vocals. Yeah, some people helping out with some songwriting stuff here. The Nearest Faraway Place was Bruce Johnson that produced it. He wrote it, and it's an instrumental. It's kind of neat and a cool track. Side 2, Cotton Fields with an Al Jardine and Brian Wilson produced thing. It's the Ledbetter, Huey Ledbetter track with Al Jardine on vocals. You could hear him sing. And yeah, that's the one that CCR covers a few years down the road from here. I've never heard the original. I'll have to try to go find. I like blues. I'll have to go find the original. I do like blues stuff. And I want to hear it. And then we have I Went to Sleep. That was Brian Wilson. He did a little bit, as I said, just very little. But a lot of it just kind of stuff left over from other things. Brian Wilson and Carl Wilson wrote it, and Carl Wilson did sing on it. Yeah, a lot of these songs are short, but they're good. There's some short ones. Time to Get Alone, but Carl Wilson produced it. Brian Wilson wrote it, and Carl Wilson and Brian Wilson and Al Jardine all sang on it. Then we come to Never Learn Not to Love. That was produced by Brian Wilson and Carl Wilson. Dennis Wilson, Mr. Manson is not mentioned in any credits. Brian Wilson, Dennis Wilson on vocals. And then Our Prayer is next. Brian Wilson did produce it, and he wrote it, and the group sings it. Yeah, that really sounds like a Beach Boys tune. It really does. Yeah, kind of like an earlier sound. Kind of like how Do It Again kind of goes back to the Surfer stuff a little bit. And then we get to an interesting one, Cabanescence, it's called. Brian Wilson and Van Dyke Parks wrote it. Carl Wilson and Brian Wilson Carl Wilson, Mike Love, and Dennis Wilson all sing it. Cool song. Then a nice little ending here. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, that's the okay. Yeah, that is that track is interesting because it literally is just them harmonizing on "ooh," which is kind of cool, I think. Oh no, it's not. No, they've added one to the. I know what's happened. Okay, the streaming one has added something to the end, but that is a good track. We'll get to that in just a second. A reissue when it was with Friends. I think we've seen this before, which I don't have any of these tracks. Breakaway, and then Celebrate the News again. We're Together again. Walk On By, that Dionne Warwick thing again. Old Folks at Homes and Old Man River, which he doesn't do much with. He tried to do that. And there's a 2020 session. It's called I Can Hear Music, which I've not looked at yet, but we'll see what's on that. Yeah, but I believe that other one was just them on ooh harmonizing. This one has some extra stuff here. Let me see if we can see what we have here from those same sessions. It was in 2018. It was a digital-only thing. So we've got some alternate takes and other material, and yeah. So yeah. Yeah, so we had some various sessions for different stuff here, and we'll look at this, see what other extra bits we've got here. Do it again in alternate stereo mix. Oh, that would be fun. I may have to go pull that up just to hear it in stereo. Okay, cool. And then an acapella version of Do It Again. That's neat. I Can Hear Music, a demo of that. I Can Hear Music, a track and backing vocals. That's kind of cool. Bluebirds Over the Mountain, alternate mix of that. Be With Me is a demo. Be With Me, a 2018 track mix of that song. All I Want to Do, Dennis was a lead vocal, a take two of him doing that. The Nearest Faraway Place, alternate take. Cotton Fields track and backing vocals on that. I Went to Sleep, a cappella 2018 mix. Time to Get Alone, a cappella. Never Learn Not to Love, track and backing vocals. And a cappella version of Never Learn Not to Love. I Walk On By 2018 mix. How long is that one? About the same length, okay. Rendezvous, Do It Again, early version. Oh, the 2018 mix of it. We're Together Again, a cappella. I Can Hear Music, alternate lead vocal. That would be interesting. I Want to Do, early version track of that. Seal Plain Song, it says, 2018 mix. I'm not sure what that is. That would be kind of cool, maybe. Potentially. Old Man River, a cappella 2018 mix of them trying to do that, which didn't go much. Brian Wilson got pretty irritated with it and didn't do much with it. Medley of Old Folks at Home and Old Man River, alternate version of that. Another medley of the same thing I just talked about. Just mentioned. And then something called Walkin'. I've been way too long. Sections of it. Well, You Know I Knew, it's called. A Love Affair demo. A demo of Peaches. The Gong session highlights. What in the world is that, I wonder? Tiny Living Dreams 2018 mix. All I Want to do early version. All I Want to Do, Dennis was lead vocal, take one. Bluebirds Over the Mountain basic track, so there's just probably no vocals on that. Just the basic rhythm track and such. Bluebirds Over the Mountain, a mono single mix. Interesting. Tumono Kana, a demo. I'm not sure. Is that Hawaiian? Monokana 2018 mix of that. I don't know what that even is. We're together again. Remake track of backing vocals. Time to Get Alone remake track. Oh yeah, it's called. Is it true what they say about Dixie lead vocals by Audrey Wilson? I don't remember who that is. As a cover, I don't know who Audrey Wilson is. That is that. So that would be kind of interesting. I'm going to have to go find the Do It Again mix. Just because it's always been in mono and I want to hear it other ways. Our personnel, we've got, of course, Alderdine on backing vocals, acoustic guitar, electric guitar and hand claps. Bruce Johnson on vocals, organ, hand claps, piano, and Fender Rhodes. Mike Love on the hand claps. Ben Wilson on vocals, piano, organ, Chamberlain, and hand claps. Carl Wilson vocals, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, bass, hand claps, congas, and tambourine. Uncertain apparently somewhere. Dennis Wilson vocals, drums, hand claps, and piano. Our touring guys at Carter guitar and bass, but they're all on the album too. Daryl Dragon on marimba and vibraphone. Mike Kowalski bongos, sleigh bells, and snare drum. Yeah, there's some nice sleigh bells on here in spots. Our guest people, Marilyn Wilson, additional backing vocals here. Additional vocals, I'm sorry. I don't remember hearing her, but she must be in there somewhere. Diane Ravel, additional vocals. I don't know who she is. On Time to Get Alone. Medic parts, upright piano on the Cabinescence track. Additional session guys, we have Chuck Berger for upright bass, Hal Blaine drums, Wrecking Crew guys again, cymbal percussion viola, Jimmy Bond upright bass, David Rourke viola, James Burton on dobro, Rick Caton trumpet, Pete Chrysley on tenor saxophone, of Clausen French horn, Jack Horn cornet, David Cohen guitar, Jesse Ehrlich cello, Estes percussion, Virgil Evans on trumpet, Carl Fortina on accordion, there's some accordions, Tim Gordon on drums, timbales, and timbre with a stick, and bell goodies. What the heck? Timbre with a stick. I've never played a timbre with a drumstick. Interesting. Did I ever even? No, I never tried that when I was in the pit in high school. I guess I never got that bored. I never had drumsticks really around me, so. Freshman year when I played ride cymbal, I did, but not usually. But I would just use my hand with the tambourine. I would never have thought to play a drumstick on it, but someone has and did and does, and I didn't. That's kind of sad. I should have tried that, but I never thought about it. John Guerin, drums, woodblock, tambourine, and sleigh bells. Fun stuff. Never played woodblock. Never did do woodblocks. Igor, maybe? Igor, Shepsevsky on cello, Irma Kebrov cello, Croquet bass is back again, Irma Kelly on cello, Ernesto bass. Yeah, there's a nice string arrangement on like track 10 or something. Fred Coyne trumpet, Willie Maiden on baritone saxophone, Linda Milarski violin, Dick McQuarrie baritone saxophone, and Jay McLeary flute. Yeah, a lot of these same guys from before. Oliver Mitchell trumpet, Tony Morgan harmonica and bass harmonica, Roger Newman piccolo, flute, pipe, and tenor saxophone. That's quite a mix. Wow. I know they're all woodwinds, but that's an interesting mix of instruments. John Love bass saxophone, Glenn Lutz trumpet, Don Peake guitar, electric bass, and percussion. Bill Peterson on trumpet again. Bill Pittman, Dan Electric fuzz bass, Mike Price on trumpet, Don Randy piano and organ, Darwin Dazzo bass trombone. Go trombones. Low Res upright bass, Frank De La Rosa upright bass. Good grief, cannot talk today. Very small flute, bass, saxophone. Voice now on vibraphone. Styros, what in the world? Spyros Spamos, maybe? Violin? That, I don't know how to say that name. Daryl Toolworker, violin. Tommy Tedesco, acoustic guitar, and bouzouki. Well, that's a Greek string instrument. I've never seen a bouzouki before. I've heard it. That's a hidden one. Vescovo on dobro, Joe DeVocht violin, and that is it. No engineers and stuff. I think they had one guy on engineering duties normally. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting album. Of course, you have Do It Again and Hacking in Music, which are nice highlights, and lots of other instruments. Definitely, Carl Wilson definitely taking over a lot more on this one. Don't know we'll see much of Brian Wilson for a long point after this. Then, while all that was happening, they go on tour to Europe for the 4th time. They are still very, very, very popular in Europe at this point. Not as much in the U.S. So much so they decide to record some live material from their stops in London and in the UK, but they wanted to do one other show, and it got they couldn't agree to stuff, so they did one. I forget where it was. Hopefully it will say. I forget where it was though. Two shows. They're very popular. The girls are still screaming a bit, and calls for Carl are heard. Very energetic performance. I really quite enjoyed what I've heard of it. Carl Wilson sounds really good on drums. There's horns and keyboard stuff going on. It's quite the setup. Very enjoyable. I would give it a listen if you haven't. That was in 70. We don't get it until 76 when they started to become popular again. So poor US, we don't get it until 76. And it becomes Live 69, the Beach Boys 69 live in concert or something like that. Live in London. It's a weird title. Streaming shows the original. It's mentioned in liner notes for Apple Music, but it is the original title. So if you go under compilations, go look for it under that. Do not look for it under the US title. You'll not find it except in the liner notes. It may show up though. I don't know, but it might show up if you search it. But I just did Live in London and it popped right up. I was like, why is it in 76? And read the article. Oh, I see. Delayed release. Because they reissued it. EMI Capital didn't. So we got it here. Then EMI, of course, reissued it again. So some tape dropouts, though. Again, nice drums and nice instrumentation. And the guys all sound good singing together. There's lots of jokes being done by Mike Love and some stuff with the crowd. And yeah, it's cool. Very enjoyable. I need to hear the whole darn thing, but I heard some of it because I didn't look ahead and like, oh no, what's this? So I did some sampling before I did this video, just to check it out a little bit. Sounds really nice. Very enjoyable. I need to hear the whole thing. I think sounds lovely. Side one though, we have Darlin', which I love the trumpets on all this stuff. It sounds so good when they use them. Wouldn't it be nice? Sloop John B, California Girls, Do It Again. And Wake the World, Aren't You Glad? And side 2 contains Bluebirds Over the Mountain. Oh, sorry. The Hearts Were Full of Spring, which is that Bobby Troop thing, which they covered earlier. It sounds so good. We've heard that one before, though. And they mentioned they did it before, because it was on an earlier album. Good Vibrations, which sounds really good with the organ. Oh, and it's a fast tempo too. Yeah, you really can tell the crowd is just really loving these whole shows here. Whatever bits they used from each one. God Only Knows, Barbara Ann. And then we had the Beach Boy. It was pretty 90 with that Beach Boys concert we talked about earlier. with the 2 bonus tracks, which I'll give them again here. Oh, okay, yeah, Don't Worry Baby was from 64, and then Heroes and Villains was from this London gig, which would be fun to have heard. Heroes and Villains. And then when they put it out again. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, it was used as a B-side, and it was used in a game. And our touring people, though, we'll go through them. As I said, the main touring guys were on the album, so they're on here again. Mike Love on vocals, tambourine, electric theremin on the Good Vibrations. Yes, the theremin does show up. I don't know what that is, how hard it is to haul around a theremin. I've heard it, I've never seen one, but I would think that'd be kind of a hefty thing to lug along in your buses and trailers and flying it across the ocean or whatever they had to do to get everything to London and the UK and other parts of Europe. They're still so popular here. They really start kicking off in 65 and 66. All the albums anything that hadn't come out gets put out over there immediately, and yeah, they're still huge at this point. Carl Wilson vocals on lead guitar, alternating vocals, rhythm guitar, Dennis Wilson vocals and drums, of course. He's such a nice drummer. To me, almost underrated. He's almost restrained. He's so different live. His style is just entirely different. Kind of reminds me of Ringo Starr, sort of, but not entirely, but he kind of has a similar, I don't know, way he plays stuff. It kind of reminds me of Ringo a little bit, even though it's not, but I'm sure he was influenced by Ringo. I don't doubt. I'm sure he saw him live on the Ed Sullivan Show, and I'm sure they had albums by the Beatles, and obviously they knew them at different times, of course. Go to Rishikesh and everything. Mike Love went, of course, and just other run-ins with them, not in a bad way, but I don't know, just similar drumming to me. It sounds nice. Bruce Johnson vocals, bass, and organ, which I think is on Good Vibrations for sure. Additional guys, we've got Daryl Dragon on piano and organs and bass, and Ed Carter on bass, tambourine, and lead guitar. Yeah, that Daryl Dragon, of course, he was on the album we just talked about. Mike Kowalski on percussion. On credit horns and possible cellos, they all sounded awesome, but I played brass, so I'm a little biased there. I played trombone, so and I've always liked trumpets, and French horns sound nice, and tubas and everything. Yeah. We don't list them. Oh, how sad. I would assume they might have maybe grabbed some of those guys from the album maybe and used them on the tour. They don't list them here. They're not credited. It would make sense to me to have gotten some of those guys from those sessions and, hey, can you come on tour with us? Unless they had other guys that they used. I don't know. It doesn't show here. So that's really sad because they're doing a nice job. Everyone is, but how sad. I can't give them credit for their work at this time. Back then. But yeah, that's that. It's really, again, I really like what I've heard from it. It sounds nice in the headphones. I guess they didn't get to mix it. Capitol did, but it sounds good to me. But I think the band was kind of irritated they didn't get any input on mixing, which is sad. It sounds nice. What screams there are don't interfere at all with it. Everything is in stereo properly instead of like last time where it wasn't. Where a lot of stuff was crammed to one side. Not the case. Everything is in the right and left speakers. Everything's in the middle. Nothing is squashed or anything. It sounds nice. I mean, the drums are kind of off to the side, but again, this is 69. We don't have quite all of the live recording that we get later. We had them, just again, early stereo, not having a lot of tracks to use on and on, but I think it sounds good, and yeah, sounds really nice to me. But yeah, I'll have to go find that, do it again, stereo track, and hear the Ronettes cover. I can hear music and stuff like that, because it sounds great. But yeah, I would go check this album out, and of course hear the 2020 album. But then we'll move to more than 70 with an album called Sunflowers next time. I have not looked ahead to see what's on it. Most of this territory is unknown to me. I've heard very little from this period, as I've said before. I've heard just little bits here and there. I did get some albums were left at my dad's office years ago, and were just around, and they became part of my collection. I think I know whose they were, but I don't think he would mind. He has passed, but that was one album. He had a couple of the 70s Beach Boys albums in there. So I have a couple in my vinyl collection, which is great. I hadn't heard much of that, and I forget what albums they were now, but I don't remember. But we'll go back through and we'll have a good time. The 70s is really an unknown period for me with these guys, so that will be fun to hear Sunflower next and talk about that in the next video.